welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you my 4 favorite freezer meals for any time that you need something simple just to pull out for a simple dinner. Now these are not complex meals. These are just my family's basic recipes that we use anytime we find ground beef on sale, chicken on sale, or just we need something simple that's a go-to win for everyone in my household. So let's get to cooking and I'll show you my favorite meals. These pork rice bowls are very similar to Chipotle and are perfect for a weeknight dinner or entertaining. For every 2 pounds of pork, I recommend half a jar of banana peppers. I love these ones from Aldi, include the liquid also, and 2 tablespoons of Italian dressing mix. You can use one like this. This is Penzy's that you can order online. I like this one because it has very clear ingredients with no added fillers, but there may be others that are safe for you too. Simply add all the ingredients to your Instant Pot. Again, if you're using a smaller amount than half a cup of liquid, you may need a little extra water in your Instant Pot. Add your spices on top and seal the lid on your Instant Pot. Always double check that your sealing ring is incorrectly also. Push the top thing to to sealing, not venting, and in my case I have to click pressure cook. I like to cook this for an hour and a half or 90 minutes, and then I let it sit for hours after it's done cooking. So I like to make this much earlier in the day. That will make a super tender roast. Always make sure to use a fattier cut like a butt roast or something, not a super lean cut of pork. Then I use a fork and make sure the meat is super tender, because if it's not, you could always put the lid back on and pressure cook it for another 15 or 30 minutes to make sure it is super tender. Then I move the pork over to a plate, and then I pour out the juices into this fat separator that works super well, and then the fat from the meat goes to the top and you don't get it in your juices. I then place the pork back into the pot, shred it up as much as I desire, and pour some of the juices without the fat, now separated, back in to keep the meat moist. But if your family prefers a crispy carnita type meat, then this is the time before you add in the juices that you should be putting your meat on maybe a foil lined sheet or parchment lined sheet and broil it for a few minutes to get those extra crispy bits on your pork. My family personally doesn't care for that, and so I don't even worry about that extra step. I just add the juices back into my meat so it stays nice and moist, and this can stay on low, like in a slow cooker on warm, or in the Instant Pot on low, for a number of hours for a party safely. So that works super well to have a very tender, nicely prepared meat ready for any get together. My family loves to top these rice bowls with cooked peppers and onions. I just keep it super simple and cook them in some olive oil or canola oil, and then I add a little bit of salt and either Italian seasonings like shown here, or you can just toss in a little oregano or nothing at all if you don't want to. Pico de gallo is perfect for this. I use fresh tomatoes, a little bit of diced canned jalapeno, a little white onion, and cilantro. And canned jalapeno brine is the perfect ingredient to really bump up the flavor. And then I added a little bit of salt and sometimes garlic powder if I'm wanting it too. You mix it all together and it makes an amazing pico de gallo. Here is our dinner buffet for the evening. I had leftover rice, the pork, as well as my pico de gallo, extra jalapenos, green onions, guacamole, bagged shredded lettuce, the peppers and onions we cooked, and then my kiddo with the milk allergy really loves tofutti, and if that's something that works for you, it's tasty as well. Here is a photo or video of his bowl. He really loves the peppers, onions, pork, and here is a photo of mine. Burger night is another favorite at our household. To make it a freezer meal, I just form the patties, and like Rachel Ray showed me years ago, put a little indent in the middle before freezing to make sure they don't form like hockey pucks as you cook them. I just then put this entire tray in my freezer until they're frozen solid, and then I bag them in freezer bags afterwards. To cook my burgers, I just normally throw them straight on my grill and add salt and pepper. Here I used a cast iron pan on my stove, which did work, although my pan is so much bigger than my burner that it took a long time to cook them this night. But cook them on the first side until you start seeing juices bubble up on the top, and then flip them over and season the second side. These burgers make a wonderful meal that fits a lot of allergy needs. If you need to be gluten-free, use your favorite gluten-free bun. I know if you need gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free buns, it gets a little more challenging. So look at our burger bar from this evening. We included sliced tomatoes, homemade pickles, grilled onions that I just sauteed on the stove in treat crock plant butter, as well as we had mayo and ketchup. We are able to have egg in our house, so Hellmann's mayo works for us, but use any vegan mayo or regular mayo that works for you. And then we had veggies with dairy-free ranch on the side and some other grilled vegetables. I call this Italian dressing chicken, and it is a wonderful freezer meal because it is so very simple. You just take your favorite chicken, whether chicken breasts or chicken thighs, both work wonderfully. In this case, I actually butterflied these chicken breasts. Did you know that this Zesty Italian is free of most top allergens? I even called and it doesn't contain mustard, which is one of ours. So I just cut my chicken breasts in half, put them in the bag, and then I use about half a bottle per freezer bag. Sometimes if I'm making a whole lot, I'll just do a third depending on how much chicken I have. And then I freeze these until the night before we're going to grill. The night before, I put the freezer bag on a cookie sheet in my refrigerator. Don't make the mistake I have, just in case the bag got punctured. Always put your freezer meals on a cookie sheet to let them thaw overnight. That way your chicken will be ready to grill the next morning. And if there's a leak in the bag, it won't drip juice all over your refrigerator. So then what we do is we just take this straight to the grill and cook it up with some of our favorite vegetables. To this night we were having peppers and these little patty pan squash I got at the farmer's market, and they were all super, super tasty. We enjoy this, and one trick for grilling that I really love is I keep the meat in the bag and then I put my fresh veggies on this cookie sheet. Then what I can do is after everything is cooked, since I didn't contaminate the tray with raw meat, we can just put it back on the tray after cooking, and it's one less dish to cook. So here's a look at everything on our grill. Our number one rule in our house with grilling is nothing unsafe goes on our grill. Here's a look at our dinner this evening, and this was also a win in our house. The only problem we have is we have a kiddo in braces that we have to cut her corn off the cob for her, but otherwise it's a family favorite as well. Ground beef tacos are such a staple in our household that I often cook 4 or more pounds of ground beef at a time. And so here is a look at my giant Dutch oven, and here's the recipe I use as guidance. I will include a link in the description box for you. This is from All Recipes, and the only thing I do is I leave out the chili flakes because that makes it a little too spicy for those that don't like spicy in my family. So I take as much ground beef as I want to cook, and I use my little meat chopper, and I cook it up in my pan. We got to make sure that it's all thoroughly cooked before adding the spices because it will release a lot of liquid in the end. And so then I go through after it's all browned and I separate out the fat. If you have a really good way of getting fat out of a deep pan like this, why don't you leave a comment down below and give me your tips? I know my mom used to have like a baster thing she would use that was effective. Some people use a paper towel. I don't know. I was struggling here, you could see. Ground beef tacos are one of the perfect meals for stretching if you have hungry tweens and teens in your household. I love adding black beans to my taco meat, but I've also included rice, quinoa, cooked potato cubes. All of those things can be added to your ground beef to make it stretch a lot further. I add some spices, mix it around, cook it for a few minutes, and I taste it for how spicy it is. And so sometimes you can add more or less seasoning depending on how spicy you like it. Here is a look at our taco bar for the evening. And we do this all the time because you can make it into crunchy tacos. You can use corn tortillas, flour tortillas, tortilla chips, taco salad. It works for everything. And so that really makes it easy to customize. My little guy used Follow Your Heart cheese to have nachos this evening. Here's a look at my taco. We really love having taco meat in our freezer ready for any night. Here's a look at the bags of meat ready for my freezer. I always make sure that my taco meat and carnita meat, the pulled pork, are all fully cooked before they go in my freezer for an easy meal, and the burgers and chicken are ready to go on the grill. I hope you found these recipes helpful and that maybe some of them will work for you and your family. If you find that to be the case, would you consider liking this video and subscribing down below? Maybe hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of my new videos I'm able to get out.